I pledge
allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Mrs. Van Coolen, could you read our mission statement?
The mission of the Marshall Public School District is to educate, support, and prepare all learners for success.
First item is approval of the agenda. I'll make a motion.
I'll second.
Any discussion or changes on the agenda?
Yeah, we needed to add item 8.7 in the consent agenda, and then I believe, and Tricia, you can correct me if I'm wrong, that we added or updated a couple items in 8.8, the personnel. Thank you.
Sounds good. I'll call the vote with those changes to the agenda. That is approved. Next item is recognition of school board members.
Well, we just want to take an opportunity to congratulate Dion and Jeff for their recognition at last week's Minnesota School Boards Association conference during the recognition luncheon. Dion, I believe, earned the Director's Award. Is that correct, Dion? And Jeff earned the President's Award, which I'll say you earned through your hours of professional development through MSBA. So hopefully we'll continue to get the other people that haven't earned those awards up to speed on things, and get everybody to get that recognition. But congratulations to Jeff and Dion, and I also think it's a good parallel or aligns well with one of your school board goals, which is kind of focused on professional development. So good job, guys, even though Jeff's not here.
Do you have a speech prepared or anything?
I do, but we'll hold it off.
Okay.
For another meeting.
Public forum. Anybody in the public would like to present to the board? I don't see anyone. Presentations, a technology presentation. Mrs. Grinauger is going to introduce your crew.
Tonight, we have two fantastic teachers presenting on technology for the technology department. The first one is going to be Erica Hess, and she is a kindergarten teacher here at Marshall Public Schools. And she is a very proponent and strong user of technology, so we're very excited to have her here tonight. And she is going to be showing you a new tool that the Parkside has been using, which is called Apple Classroom. I knew that 2 seconds ago. It just left my mind there. And then we also have Teresa McCoy, who is the middle school technology teacher. And she's going to be talking about just some of the different activities that they have here at Marshall Public, or at the middle school, Marshall Middle School, for the 5 through 8 students. So thank you both for presenting tonight, and school board, enjoy.
Okay, let's get this going. So today you get to play a little bit. In front of you is an iPad. I want to show you a little bit today of how I use Apple Classroom in the kindergarten class. One of the tools, it's a pretty simple app. It's free, which is a super bonus for educators. But probably the best feature for 5-year-olds is the ability to lock the iPad at any moment. So as we're learning self-control, we're learning, okay, Mrs. Hess is talking. I need to have my eyes focused on her, but I just can't stop touching this iPad. I want to go everywhere on it. So the ability for me to instantly lock your iPads has been really helpful. So if you want to just do a favor for me, turn the iPad on, go do something on it appropriately, please. And then I'm going to quickly just push lock. Oh, if you could. Oh, yeah, it's going. And so hopefully on your screen, do you have a padlock, a gray screen? So even though the children still know that it's locked by me, Mrs. Has something happened? They're still telling me like that there's a problem and I'm the one that created that. So it's kind of funny, but they're still learning. So that's a really, really helpful tool. If I'm teaching some kind of project and they're going to create something on their iPad, first I need to give them some instructions. And so even if I want them to hear that, then they do that, then I can freeze them. And then they can come back to me pretty quickly with that button. So I'm going to unlock. You can see what Apple Classroom, I don't know if the word is, interface looks like up on the screen. So this is all I'm doing. Up at the top, there's that padlock that I pushed, and now it's unlocking the iPads that were locked. So I'm push done. Let's see, the second one that's very helpful for me is if I want specific kids to go to an app and during math time and I really want them to work on a specific skill without them going to a different app that maybe is more chosen to them, I can push open. As long as the app is on my teacher iPad, I can press that app. And then down at the bottom, there's a feature, it says lock into app after opening. So now you all should be into the number app. Sometimes it takes like a minute or so if the internet's slow. And you're in number magic. You are locked into that, so even if you're trying to push your home button to get out and play a different one, you're now, you're stuck. Before the NWEA test had the new feature that just came out last year in the fall, Mrs. Hess, I'm done with this game. I want to play a new one. That was during NWEA testing. So, that was, sorry. Oh, we need to finish this one. Then we did the guided access to help the kindergarten friends as their fall. It's hard, and they're still learning so many things and even how to use it. So now with Apple Classroom, even if the app doesn't have that ability to lock it themselves into it, I can use this. So now I'll get out of there. Trying to think what else. Also, I can see real time what's on your screen. So if you look up at that big screen, if I push screens, it actually shows me. So a few of you are playing a number game, it looks like. If I want to see a little bit bigger, that just gives me a quick picture. But if I'm going to type Dylan's in, and I can do view screen, now I can watch him more closely from a distance of what Dylan's working on without me looking over his shoulder and watching his math thinking.
Got them all right.
So I'm going to push done. Then if Dylan is
got it.
rockstar today, and I love what I'm seeing, and I ask for Dylan's permission, I always ask the kids for permission to put it up on the smartboard, because some friends just don't like all of their things out for everybody to see. So I'll ask them, I really like what you're doing.
What do you do with the kid who wants immediate feedback like me?
What kind of feedback would you like?
How am I doing?
Then I would go over to you. Tell you, it's awesome. I love what you're working on, Bill. I don't know who you are. Are you Ani? Are you Abigail? I don't know. So here I go. I can push AirPlay. And, oh, that's not working for us right now, though, is it? So I can push AirPlay, and if you have Apple TV in the classroom, I do. I would push Hess, and then instantly the whole class can also see what's on their iPad. They can talk through, they can use their speaking, listening skills, and share with the class what it was that they were working on. The mute button I found is not perfect. One of the apps called Letter School, you open up and goes, woohoo, woohoo, and it's exciting, and it's all tracing letters and learning how to form the letters. But I push mute, and it mutes for a second, and then once they do something, it's unmuted, woohoo, woohoo, and like 24 iPads are going, woohoo. So I'm not too sure on the mute yet. It's still trying to figure out all the bugs on that. I haven't used this feature, but it can do it. If I have a website saved as a favorite on my iPad, then I can push the button and push out that link exactly, and it will open up whatever that is instantly. So you don't have to now go www. Which I never would do anyways, because that would be a total nightmare. But what an awesome feature. If I have a really long, I could shorten it even on other websites, but still, just the ability to force out a website really quickly is really nice. I have used a couple times where they know that I can see them. I can be working with a small group of kids at the table, and they're supposed to be in Dreambox. And sometimes I will not lock them into the app, and I want to see, are they working on doing their job? And so I've given out Tiger tickets from random times. I thank you for doing your job and being responsible, going to the right app. So it's kind of a fun read, and they never know when that's going to happen too. So it's nice to also give them some independence and show some responsibility. So do you have any questions on it? It's pretty simple, really. I mean, the button's on the top, but by far the lock is the best.
Erica, what percentage of your kids are coming in already knowing how an iPad works?
A lot of them do, and they come in and they say, I already know that. And I say, you're right. You might know your iPad at home, but my school one's different. Because I really want right away to stop, like, well, how you use it at home, it might look different at home, and I want to establish that this is how we do it at school. So I kind of affirm that that's what they're doing, but at school we have maybe some of the same and maybe some different rules. So a lot. I don't know the number, but it is a lot. A lot of them will say they have, my grandma has this one, and all sorts of different devices.
You have your whole class working on it at once.
I'm sorry.
You have your whole class working on it at once.
No, not always. Using the iPads per se. Yeah, no. Sometimes it's everybody, and sometimes there'll be a small group. Sometimes during a Daily 5 round or a math round, on the choice board it'll have a picture of an iPad, and then after the iPad there's a picture of the icon, and that's where they need to be doing for their job. If it says Seesaw app, then whatever they're doing, they have to take a picture, put it into Seesaw, and then send that to their parents. So it's kind of a choice board, and so it's going to change on what their job is. Free time, they'll go there. They'd stay on it all day. They really would. My sub just the other day, she said, it's amazing how well they work together. 3 little girls on this little black chair, like a comfy chair. We're sitting there so close together, but they just love to talk about and share what they're doing during the day. Yeah, it's been a little quieter when we're in our math rounds, unless they're working on the collaborative project. But man, they just want to go and show everybody, and so it gives them that time to do that during free time, which is nice. All right. Thank you. If you could just put your iPads on the top. If I forget to bring them back tomorrow, they'll be really sad.
Erica was our first kindergarten teacher to do iPad stuff with our kindergarten kids.
Yeah, with Sue. Together we were
our
a
pioneer.
team.
Remember that? Because you went up to the NSBA, you and Sue did.
That was Dreambox. Yeah, that was quite a while. And the personalized learning with those learning, yeah, that was crazy. Oh, the last thing I see now up in the corner, it says select. So if I push select and I just want, let's say, Calvin, Destin, Dylan, to go to a certain app, then I can just do that. So I don't have to lock the whole class into an app, which is really nice.
Are all of our kindergarten teachers using them like you are, as much as you are? Or?
They're just starting to, some of them. There's a couple that don't have the latest iPad version, so they're not able to yet. So hopefully, I think they're on the docket for next year to get new iPads. They're so old that they can't use it yet. So hopefully we'll start to get everyone cycled through. The best part I thought about it was there wasn't a training. You didn't have to go and learn. There's, lock. I don't have any training. I can just push lock if that's what I feel comfortable with. And then I just started to do a little bit more each time, and I like easy things. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Hi, I'm Teresa McCoy. I'm the technology teacher at the middle school. I teach all grades, 5th grade through 8th grade, so I see over 700 students. I get them for half of the quarter, so I have 8 sections, 32 groups of kids. And my time is about 4.5 weeks, 23 hours. Not a lot of time. I'm here today because Todd asked me and Amanda asked me to present to you. So this is just a little bit of information about my technology class and what we do. Oh, it didn't go forward. Okay, this is what I want my room to look like. So I want my kids to come in with excitement like that, and we've got Minecraft going on. We're using the green screen and that, and a Do Ink app on the iPad, just for that little bit. One of the big things that I use in the classroom, and very fortunate to be able to use it. I received a Tiger grant, and it's for Minecraft. And the first the first version that I used was Minecraft EDU, which was an education version. I just started using the new version, Minecraft Education Edition, in January. We've got that all set up. We did have access to it last year, so we used it just a little bit, but I'm using the new version now in the lab. Minecraft, if you don't know what it is, it's like a Lego sandbox, and it's building blocks. It was created in 2009. Its use spread by word of mouth. They didn't have to advertise for it. But now there's more than 100 million users, and it's available on PCs, tablets, phones. There's public versions, and then there's the two education versions. Microsoft bought Minecraft in 2014 for $2.5 billion. So it's a game where they explore, mine, build, and they're collaborating with other people or within my classroom with the students in the classroom. And it's a great tool for them to be using their imagination. Why Minecraft? There's a few things that I'm going to talk about, but it's the creativity part is the biggest piece that I like to see them, some of the things that they're doing. Engagement. They love to create. They're building different, they can build cities, they can build buildings, it's just whatever their imagination can come up with. Usually they can build it, and it's building it with the blocks. They're collaborating, they're developing life skills and career skills by collaborating together. They're problem solving. They're taking pride in cooperation with building with others. They're communicators, and some of these things, the collaboration piece, the communication piece, those are part of the ISTE standards that I follow in my classroom. They can work individually, they can work in pairs, or they can work in teams, and that goes on within the classroom. If they're on the public version of it, they could be collaborating with others anywhere in the world that are online in the game. But in my classroom, I try and keep it within the classroom, within the grade level, and then we're, as a global collaborator, we do it within all grade levels. So we go, for this quarter ending this week, I'll have one world, and each grade will go into that world. So they're collaborating between 5th through 8th grade, and I have them go in 2 days. So the first day, the 8th grade start, and it ends with 6th grade at the end of the day. And then they go back in, and they add on to those, whatever they've been building, and see what others have been doing. So you can go to the next one, thank you. They're empowered learners. They're learning video game design. They're learning basic coding, Java coding. There's debugging that's going on. They're problem solving. They're also doing revision control, because if you do it wrong, you have to go and fix it. They're looking after resource management skills, because if you put them in a survival world, they have to have the material to be able to survive, and making the things that they need. Or in the creative world, they're finding the tools or the different objects that they want. Increasing their patience level, because it takes a period of time to develop something that's on a sizable scale. And perseverance. And the other thing that they are learning as they go is empathy for others, because part of the team, people make mistakes, or somebody is doing something wrong with their build, or there's some rules that we follow, but those are some of the skills that I like to see that they're working on. The next one. They're innovative designers. They can create anything that they can imagine. It complements a lot of the other core classes that they're in: reading, writing, math, history. There's teachers that use it for second language, and their coding skills. Oregon Trail, which is one of the older games, the original games, they partnered with Microsoft and have a world built within Minecraft as well. So the history can come alive for students. They're improving their research skills because they want to advance. They want to learn how to do certain things. If they see another student building a roller coaster, and they have the box that is moving, they want to learn how to do that. So they're researching either. I have several Minecraft guidebooks that they can use, or they're going out and they're watching YouTube videos or finding out information. And then it goes a little bit further that some can be the creators of that information. Rather than just consuming it, they're creating it and sharing it with others. The history can come alive when we can import fully constructed worlds already, or they are building. You can show them buildings, famous buildings, and they can recreate those buildings. An example of what we've done is we've created Marshall. So they've gone out and they've picked some buildings, and they'll build those, and a park on the corner of Main, where the World Trade Center beam is. I've had students create that. The high school, they pick some of the main buildings in town, and they create those buildings. So I'll just show you some pictures of some of the different builds. Now, this is 5th grade, and they're the very first time in, I sometimes have tied it into an Excel lesson, and we do Excel art, and it ties in with Excel art or pixel art, and then that's what you see in the background with the sword. And then the next day in, I let them have free build. So we've got an example of both there. So it ties in with some of the lessons that they're learning in class. That's a pixel art build. And that's just a free one. That's with 6th grade. This is the Tech After School. This was a world for them, and some of we spend a little bit more time because they're coming in more often than I try and do it 2 days with each of my classrooms versus the tech club that comes every Tuesday. And that's another one from the tech club. This is an example of students building. So we got boys and girls that are really highly engaged with doing it. And when you listen, that's the major piece for me. I'm not a gaming person, but the kids wanted it so badly that when I applied for a Tiger Grant for it originally, and when I started talking about it, oh, well, we'll fundraise. We'll get our parents to pay for it. And no, I'll see if I can get a Tiger Grant. And then when the new version came out, we had lots of discussion on how can we get the new version? How can we pay for it? And but the piece where you listen, and that's what I do. I'm watching what they do, but I'm listening to what's going on in the classroom. This particular build was an interesting one. This student is a 7th grader, and it wasn't by my direction, but he went around and made a map of the whole world that they were building in the Tiger Time. And that shows all the builds that all the students did. And the students realized that something was going on because that particular action slowed it down quite a bit, but I pretended nothing was going on. I said, oh, it's because the world is getting big. But I knew that this student, what he was doing, he was making a map, and he had to go and look at each build to get that onto the map that he created. So it was a lot of work. They're learning some coding skills in there. Just an awesome piece. So. Boys and girls. This is one of the girls' builds.
You should see, you know where Williams huge tree is, right? Yeah.
And when they're building in there, they go so fast. And my first experience with it when I was in training, I felt sick to my stomach by lunchtime.
Rooms that you're going into?
Yep.
I can watch it now, though.
I can still get it. That was the mudroom and laundry room. And this one was the bathroom.
Okay.
And then this is the kitchen.
So this is a house that a group of girls built.
And then up the stairs we have bedrooms. This is Callie's bedroom.
You see the detail that they have. They have hanging chandeliers.
There's a balcony leading to outside. And here's Claire's room. And another balcony on this side. And then this is my room. And up the next floor is Gina's room that she's still working on. You want me to help you finish all these last two floors on it? Wait. And then there's a little balcony out here. And then this is going to be a computer room. And this is going to be another lounge room.
Okay,
So
awesome.
some of the tools that we use,
All right, is that it?
we'll
Okay,
use.
thank you.
We're using all the Office 365 tools. How I incorporate the Minecraft, though, we've used the snipping tool. They'll learn how to use the snipping tool. We've done where they've previously we used like a print screen, put it into a PowerPoint, and then turned it into me. They take a print screen of their build, put it in a PowerPoint, and then it's not graded, but I wanted examples of what they were doing. And then I incorporated through Schoology, because I use Schoology, my whole, everything I do is through Schoology. And then this year it was easier to have a OneNote notebook populated within Schoology. So I didn't have to send out 80 or 100, depending on the number of kids I had. I can go into my classroom and I can have a OneNote within within Schoology and set that up, and then they can go in and they can take a snip of their picture or a print screen of their picture or of their build and put it in the OneNote and turn in. Then I have the OneNote within my classroom. So I try to use the Office 365 tools using that as well. And we'll go to the next one. It's very inclusive. And this next video, this little student struggled coming into my classroom. She is a beautiful little girl that does not speak. So this is what you'll hear. She's communicating, but she doesn't speak. And she's building without my direction. So originally, she came into this build, and it was all open. All it was pillars, and she went into another student's build, turned herself around, looked at the ceiling, and then walked out of her build, went back to the landing portal, which was this area, and she's filling it in. She's making the build like what the other students have. And she figured out how to do the hand controls. She's problem solving there because she put the blocks in the wrong place. She's doing basic coding at her level. She loved doing Minecraft. That was one of the ways that I was able to get her to come into the classroom. And I spent when 5th grade went on their kindness retreat, I brought her in the classroom to spend the time in the classroom, just so that she had something special to do that day as well. Now, she worked on finishing off the walls, and then she came in another time, and we'll go to the next one. So the walls are all done, and she walks in and it's too dark because it's all enclosed. So then I showed her the torch for a light, and she went around, and this is what she placed inside of her build.
Oh, yeah.
So she's lighting it up to make it so that she can see inside of her build. And all I did was I changed the tool to the torch.
Bye-bye.
Some of the other things that we do Hour of Code, and we've been doing the Hour of Code since it started a few years back. I like to keep track of the numbers because I started at 0. I was one of the teachers that signed up in the summertime. It was going to happen in December, and the first goal was 10,000. And Hattie Pravoti was hoping to get 10,000 people interested in it. He way surpassed that. It ended up being 1 million, then 10 million. You can go to the next one. When we did it in December, there was 520, or actually, as of yesterday, the 15th, because we did it yesterday in the classroom, 529 million students have participated with Hour of Code. That doesn't include the 90 million students on the Tinker website, and Tinker partners with Hour of Code. Within the code.org site, there's all kinds of Tinker activities. Code.org is free. Anybody can learn to code. And that's what their idea is. It's for 4 to 100 years old. This came to me at the beginning of the year, January 4th, and this is from the person that started it. There was over 500 million users. So every time we do it, I keep track, and I always, I went back to December, and I showed the kids what the number was in December, so they could see how many millions it increases every month. He was on CBS talking about the week that they celebrated in. It's the week of December 6th through the 9th. It's Computer Science Week. And he's had presidents, he's had prime ministers do it. Prime Minister of Canada is highlighted on one of his one of the banners. President Obama participated in it. And the biggest thing they're tracking is the number of girls. They want to see more girls going into that line of, interest or careers. It's quite a big focus, and trying to get districts and states to go on board for computer science in lower grades. So over 10 million girls have learned or used the Code.org site. So those are students doing the coding, and each one they get to choose. They've partnered with over 150 different activities that they're able to choose from. These are Finch robots. I received a Tiger grant for those. We use the Snap coding from Scratch is MIT, and Snap is another university that provides a block coding. I found that the Snap was easier for the kids to use. We do Bitsbox coding as well. The owners of that, the little fun information on it, I always tell the kids that they were on Shark Tank in January of last year, but Mr. Wonderful was going to fund them, but he wanted too much, so they didn't go with the funding. So I was already using it, and I've purchased additional material on that because the kids enjoy doing that. If you look at their screens, they're actually building an app in a telephone. So they're learning how to build apps if they want to take that knowledge further. I'm touching on it so that they're exposed to that. Then we use the Dash robots. I have 11 of those right now. 3 came from PTA monies, and 8 I was able to buy with my classroom money. I'm hoping to build that up to 15. I have 12 iPads that I received on a grant, so I'm hoping to build that up to 15 as well, because I have 30 computers. So I'm trying to, I let them, that's part of the collaboration piece. So. And then we do, this is just a video of some of the robots.
Yeah, okay, get out of here, Maddie. Get out of here. She's a picture, though. She's in the video. Yeah. Well, it's video, then I'm going to go into it. It's no longer. You can't sell me this stuff. Wait. I'm not going to video. I'm not going to say that. Sorry. Hey.
They can code the robots, and they've coded the robots to, there's a catapult piece that adds onto the robot, and they had it going into one of the containers that I have in the classroom. I've got some things that they use for the Finch robots to build obstacle courses, and they were trying to get it into the oatmeal container. So they coded it to hit it up against the wall, and then they were ricocheting down into the container. So.
I used to get in trouble for playing in the hallways. So.
Oh no, the kids. When I say you can go outside, that's a real a game changer for them. And then we use the Kodu game creation, and that's by Microsoft. That I've learned a little bit about that, but the kids are the expert on that as well, and they're building the games. So. And it all ties in under the umbrella of being a good digital citizen. So everything that I do with kids, it all has to do with this piece of it. So thank you very much.
Thank you.
Do you have any questions about it, or? Okay.
Are those programs available on their devices too, or just in the lab?
No, just in the lab. And that gives, I have a classroom teacher mode for it, so that I can monitor what's going on, and if they get out of bounds or they go too far away, I can just click on their number and bring them back, like it's teleporting really, bring them back to where they need to be. I can turn off different functions within that. We're not doing, I've tried to not eliminate, but not use the chat yet, because the Education Edition is just new with them, and the chat piece is there. So I have that turned off because I want them to focus on building right now. So there's certain controls that for education I want to be able to use. It'd be awesome. I mean, it's a tool that is really, really powerful for them. But right now I'm promoting it in my classroom. So, okay. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Our next item is the consent agenda. Need a motion?
So moved.
Second.
Thank you. Any discussion? If not, I'll call for the vote. That is approved. Approval of the bills for December 2017. Mr. Lamprecht.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. The bills for December, January by fund category. General Fund, $1,331,153.59. Food Service Fund, $186,432.49. Transportation Fund, $144,345.19. Community Services Fund, $54,573.79. Capital Outlay Fund, $28,553.73. The Student Entrepreneurial Fund, $502.05. That makes a grand total of $1,745,560.84. And as always, I would recommend approval of the bills for the period December, January, Mr. Chair.
Thank you. I'll make a motion to approve.
I'll second.
Any further discussion? Not, I'll call for the vote. Those are approved. Next item is our treasurer's report. Any comments on that?
Just a couple comments in regards to the Treasurer's Report for period ending December 31st. One that we have seen with our investments, a little bit of an uptick on our interest rates. We're over 1%, 1.2% on the max liquid asset fund through PFM. As of the 31st, we had a combination of cash fund balance and investments, a little over $11 million. At the end of this month of January, $2.5 million of that is going to go to pay the debt service. That's usually, it's due like February 3rd. We need to pay for that at the end of January. And then one other thing I wanted to point out is the OPEB trust account. As of December 31st, we were at $1,022,000, and that is about the same number that we started out with way back when. I don't know how many years that we've had that in place, and we've drawn money out to the tune of $60,000, $70,000 a year for the last 5 years or so. So it's really based on the equity market right now, not just right now, but over the past number of years, it's really become self-sustaining. So it's been a good investment for the school district. Any questions in regards to the Treasurer's Report?
Thank you. Our next item is just some information. This coming next week is our Professional Recognition Week. Be sure to thank any peers that you might see. They do a lot of behind the scenes stuff for all of our kids, so they're very special people. Any updates from the board? I'll make one just to talk about a workshop that I went to at the MSBA. It was about teaching kids to read by using song, and these people, she was I think she was a music teacher at St. Thomas or the University of St. Thomas or somewhere. Anyway, she started this program with a lawyer friend of hers, and they teach kids to read by teaching them how to sing songs, and their claim is in 13 and a half hours of using this program, they moved kids up a whole grade level. And to me, it's very impressive, and I think it's something we should probably look into, because It's free for school districts that have 50% or more free and reduced, which we're not quite there. But I don't think it's very expensive anyway. So, and I forgot to bring the information with all their information on it. But I talked to a guy. They're using it in their school in Rothshay. Yeah, and they use it on their EL kids in like 2nd, 3rd, and 4th grade. And he can't believe the difference in some of these kids that just have it for 30 minutes 3 times a day. And by the end of the quarter, they've moved up a whole grade level. So I think it's worth looking into. So I'll try to get the information to Amanda, the stuff that I got.
Erica, do you know if that's something that's similar to what's taking place at Parkside in kindergarten this year? Yeah.
Yeah, no, it's a big claim. Anybody else?
I'll be attending the collaborative meeting tomorrow. I talked about that at last meeting, bringing in information with regard to our free and reduced lunch count that I think we should tender some additional funds for our school district.
Moving on, just a reminder, Maytech's graduation is a week from
This Friday. This
Okay.
Friday.
Yeah.
Gosh, it's January 19th already. Okay, Friday at 2:15. So I hope all of you can attend. Mr. Munson, you're up.
Thank you, Matt. Excuse me, I'll just go through and try to highlight a few items from each of the administrators' reports. In my report, each year I try to provide an update on the Student Rotarian program through Marshall Noon Rotary, so names are listed in there, and I shared some information about that. I want to just give a shout out also, not just in my report, but to the work that's being done by the Tiger Wellbeing Committee. I know we have a variety of people on that committee, and everything from Step It Up challenges to healthy cooking classes, just on and on to help our staff and our families be well, essentially. So kudos to our Tiger Wellbeing Committee. In Tiffany's early childhood report, she shared that there was a father-daughter dance held on January 12th. I want to say there was between 100 and 120 who attended that. She also put some information in there about security update on the early childhood door. And Bruce, you'll have to help me out with the pronunciation of this. I think it's just iPhone system.
Yeah.
AIPHONE. So a little bit of added security to one of our doors here at the middle school. And Darcy's report, she has an update on what happened yesterday for the Martin Luther King recognition, and also updates on PBIS, the program and efforts at Parkside. Jeremy's report, he's been doing with others a lot of work learning more about a school-wide plan for Title I, which is really designed to strengthen core instruction in the classrooms and make sure that our interventions are aligned, and that's something that you'll likely see more about in the future. What was neat for me about this is when we look at our goal, one of our goals, strategic planning goals for the year, when I hear the word strengthen core instruction and support with aligned interventions, those are two terms that show up in our goals. So I think it's important that we reference we're transitioning hopefully to a school-wide plan for Title I, which is a little bit different. And if you want more information on that, I can ask Jeremy to come in and share that. And then he also provided Tiger Pride updates. In Mary Kay's report from middle school, she shared some really interesting information about the MCIS system, or Minnesota Career Information System, and how the middle school and specifically counselors are doing work to help that 8th grade transition. We have some student-led, I believe, parent-teacher conferences on February 8th and 12th. And then there's also a career fair for 8th graders here at the middle school that'll happen on January 26th. And if you haven't read about that, some pretty exciting stuff in there. Brian's report from the high school, hard to believe, but registration for next year is already is very near. We'll be starting later this month, I believe. And then another one that I may invite Brian to, another item, informational item, I may invite him to come and share information about, is an On to College program. It used to be called John Baylor ACT Prep, but now it's On to College program that they are implementing at the high school with financial assistance from the Pride in the Tiger Foundation, I believe. So ultimate goal there is to increase ACT scores and also to help our students start to think about possibilities in the future, well, relative to career and college options, and maybe gain some more confidence with that. For the Maytech report for Michelle, she shared some collaboration with the Marshall Area Child Care Center and how Maytech students helped those young kiddos make gingerbread houses in December. And also she shared a couple of updates about the welding program and some changes that are taking place in there. Bruce Remy's report for activities. Luke Jones and Morgan Radel were chosen as the high school representatives for the Minnesota State High School League AAA Award. And also Bruce shared some information about several holiday tournaments that were hosted and just really grateful for all the assistance that happens with those. Amanda's report for Director of Teaching and Learning. She shared information about staff development opportunities, one that happened on January 2nd and one that's coming up on January 18th, and then also gave an update on curriculum review work being done by English language arts teachers. Jackie's report, Director of Special Education, she also wanted us to recognize paraprofessionals next week, and I think we have some special things planned for them, Tricia. And also Jackie included some updates on enrollment of special education students. By and large, it has stayed relatively stable, with the exception, I believe, of early childhood special education, where we've seen an increase. And then in Jim's report, he shared information about access testing, which starts on January 29th and goes through February 24th. And with that testing for EL students, he also shared a variety of really helpful information. I know I learned a lot when I read that. Mr. Lamprecht.
There are just a couple ongoing things that happen on basically an annual basis. The non-certified employee appraisal process will beginning at the end of this month and continuing through most of February, and it's really an important process and something that our administrative staff and teaching staff to a lesser extent participate in, and so that will be beginning. And then on-site food service visits, school food service authority visits, where we go through, Lori Fruin and I go through each of the buildings and observe the service and making sure that our students are taking the balanced meal per USDA regulations. And then one other thing, the Open Door Health Center, we had a good meeting kind of reviewing how that has been going. That's the dental program that's happening. Open Door Health is having some issues with their mobile clinics, and they are using more of an inside approach. In fact, today this room was utilized for the dental visits of about 15 students. So they're working on trying to figure out what they might be able to do to alleviate the issues that they've had with their two mobile clinics, and there are certainly some financial challenges with that. We'll stay tuned, but we have a good working relationship with that group, and they provide a wonderful service for our students.
Ron isn't with us tonight, so you guys can read her report if you haven't already. Any questions?
I will. will say about Amran, it was really nice to get to know her up at school board MSBA. What a great person. I really enjoyed her.
Next item is review of policies 711 to 713 and 720. Tricia, I see at the bottom it says through 714. Is 714 supposed to be on there? Or just...
We had to remove policy 714 for further edits,
Okay.
and so that'll come forward at a later time.
Okay.
So it is through 713.
Okay. Thank you. Any questions on those? Our next discussion item is school board goals progress.
This is not an action item, just informational. Tricia and I sit down monthly and almost kind of track this during the month also, but put together some informational items relative to each of the action pieces underneath the two goals that you've approved as a school board that align with our strategic planning goals. So you can see some of the things that have happened relative to policies, focus on student achievement, monitoring standards for performance along with outcomes, just right on down the line. So every month you'll get one of these and have an opportunity to kind of look that over and say, oh yeah, we did that. Maybe that will spur a suggestion that you have. Not just in terms of, hey, Scott and Tricia, what about this? But also in terms of, you know, we do this, how about if we take it to another step and add something or do something different or whatever. So if you ever have ideas for this, please let Tricia or I know. Something that you figure matches up with or aligns with either of the goals or any of the actions.
The first action item is approval of budget parameters, and these are the same as they were the last meeting. I don't think anything changed today, so we've all seen these and discussed them. So I need a motion to approve.
So moved.
Second.
I'll second.
Any further discussion? I'll call for the vote. They are approved. Next item is approval of class size guidelines. I'll make a motion to approve and then we can discuss them. Need a second.
I'll second.
And Bill, I know you wanted to share some information.
Yeah, I do. Each of you who sits here knows where I'm at with regard to priority of need at the primary level and the reasons for that. But I'm going to give you some data that you already have, but it's critical with regard to the primary grades. In kindergarten, we have 175 students. Out of that, 49 are EL, 39 are special ed, or 44.6%. First grade, I have 178 students, 51 are EL, 31 are special ed, 46%. And then in second grade, 182 students, 53 are EL, 33 special ed, or 47.3%. And the reason I put that on the docket is I know we're talking about 22 to 1, and I know it's a space issue that we're concerned about. But when we look at almost 50% of a person's class, teacher's class, having special needs, that's considerable. And that's why, and each of us sitting here knows the building blocks are at K1 and 2. Success in school is determined in the first 3 grades of school. So I'm just putting on the table 22 to 1 is being proposed kind of here. I would like to see that less in grades K through 2. I'd like to see it at 20 to 1. I know space is an issue, but the reason I'm putting that on there is our primary grades are instrumentally critical in terms of success in school. Each of us sitting here knows that. If a child is not functioning well, EL, for example, when Jim gave his presentation on EL, an EL child to become proficient in the language, reading, writing, speaking, and listening, it takes 5 to 7 years for that to take place, for proficiency to take place. So if you just look at the number of, almost 50% of our kids in K through 2 have special needs. And that's why I'd like to see the numbers. I'd like to see a target of 20 if we have the space. And I'm just putting that on the table. I'm sharing that with you. The 23, 24 in grades 3 and 4, those were my kids as well. That seems realistic. More realistic because the foundation has basically been, the interventions have taken place pretty heavily in grades K1 and 2. So I'm just sharing that information with you. I know, Scott, you brought up last time, it's about space. We obviously need space. And the facility piece is there as well. But I don't see those numbers changing based upon our historical data. And I'm just putting that on the table. I'm heavily concerned about K through 2 class size because that's where the building blocks are created for our kids.
I would agree with you, Bill, just because if we look back, and I tried to look at some history back, the 22 number several years back was there, and the EL number is rising, and the special ed number is rising, but that number consistently stays the same. And I guess I don't understand how that, if we're going to have a target guideline, how that number can stay the same if those percentages are going up each year. I like the way you said, given the space. I would like to see the target guideline around 20 also, given the space that we have. So if the facilities, and I know we could probably vote on this next year again, but I think it should be what we feel that target student per teacher ratio should be, whether we have the space or not.
K through 2, yeah, 20 to 1.
Do we take into account the aid in kindergarten when we give the ratios?
I mean, no, on here we don't, but how does that affect
we don't hear
kindergarten classes?
Well, paraprofessional in a kindergarten classroom, and Erica can help me with this, also becomes part of a teacher's lesson plan. The teacher also needs to plan for the day for the paraprofessional to be used properly. You know, it's not just a paraprofessional who's another set of hands and knows what to do. It's shooting from the hip each day, right, Erica? I mean, you're really directing not only your kids but your paraprofessional in the proper use of the paraprofessional. It's a wonderful thing to have in kindergarten, absolutely. And I fought for that years back, but it's still an extra preparation for our kindergarten teacher.
So realistically, looking at the numbers of this year, we really would only have to add one more classroom in kindergarten. Everything else comes out to about that 20 to 1 right now.
Yeah, we're pretty close to that. But, you know, as our primary grades are very volatile in the fall. You know, kindergarten, we give our best guess based upon our past history and on what our census says, and we come pretty close. But it's right, Erica. We get new kids on the first day, and we lose some kids on the first day that we expected in kindergarten, especially. And I think we do a good job of identifying them. But I don't know, 20 to 1. I would move for us to go to 20 to 1 in grades K through 2, based upon the data of special needs and EL kids in that population.
To me, I think it just gives a history then. If you look back, that the board said this is what we feel the target should be, whether we have space or not. We might have to leave it at 23 because we don't have space. Right. You know, driving by this morning and seeing kids, you know, knowing kids have to leave the school building to go to that portable, I felt horrible. You know, that they have to sit there and spend that time to get their coats and everything on because it's negative how many degrees wind chill out there. But to me, it just says, okay, for this year, we felt, given some of the data that Bill's provided and we've been provided with, that we feel that these grades, this is what our target should be, and this is what our sections are, you know, and there's, right now, unfortunately, there's nothing we can do about it because of the space, but
Well, and it's also, if you look at space-wise, it's also another piece to help us sell the need for the space at Parkside and a new West Side, grade 2 through 3. And we know demographically, Scott has provided excellent information to our public all along about the growth that we have demographically. So I think this also helps present the need for the additional space that we're asking for.
I would agree with the lower limit or the lower guideline. The challenge is, what do we do next year? The numbers are there then for 9 sections. Where do we put them? How do we were kind of faced with this problem a number of years ago, and we kind of reached back to the teachers and the administration and said, do we create another section, hire another teacher, or do we get additional support in the classroom? And at that time, I think the decision was, we're going to get the additional, we'd rather have the additional support in the classroom. So what approach do we take next year? If the numbers support it, and we lower our guideline, do we add another section, or do we, because we don't have space, do we try and get additional support in the classroom? And I understand what you're saying about, you know, there's additional work that's put on the teacher when we add parity.
The ideal is to have an additional teacher, but without the space. And the other, if push comes to shove, to maybe look at an additional portable classroom to make it happen for another teacher. I know it's not the greatest, and I know what you saw, Dion, but if we don't pass, if that's a priority for us, and I'm not telling you how to do business here, but it's research says if we were really to do it optimistically for our primary grades, research supports 15 to 1. We can't do that. We can't afford that operationally.
You know, I don't think anybody will argue with wanting a target guideline number that's less than 22. 18 is kind of ideal to me.
It is.
15 would be awesome, but so I hear, and you all know that Bruce and I'll do whatever you tell us to do on this policy, at least. But let's also. I want to make sure that we focus on the positives. We have 20 students per class in first grade. We're going to have 20 students per class next year in second grade and in first grade. And I don't know about kindergarten. We have a full-time, I believe, aide in every kindergarten room, which it's not the same as teachers. No offense to anybody, but having a licensed staff member would be the perfect scenario. But we have tried to take steps to address that. So I just want to, I get frustrated with the challenges too.
What we have is a positive, but to have our target guideline as 22 rather than 20 is upping it, and I don't think we want to up it. I think we want 20 as our target, K through 2.
It's holding what we've had.
Pardon?
It's holding what we've had,
Yeah.
22. Yep. It's not upping it. And also, I mean, we have, you mentioned EL instruction, we have added, I don't know how many EL teachers district-wide.
I know we have.
So,
but you still, that's for part of the day. The rest of the day, the mainstream homeroom teacher has that job. And our mainstream special ed kids are with the mainstream teacher most of the day as well. I'm preaching to the choir here, but it's wonderful we have the additional support help as special ed teachers and EL teachers, but when it comes back to Erica having 23 kids and 45% of them, or 2/3 of the day, have special needs.
I would say too, what does it say to the public? I mean, we know that we're out of space. We know that we would like lower classroom size, but if we put 22 out there and we're at 20, to me that says, why do you need additional space? To me, I know we're at 20 and we're at 20 and a half. We've been higher than that. I'd like to see the 20 number there, even though we can't accomplish it. That's where we would like to be.
We can accomplish it when we build the new building.
Correct.
When we add the space, and we will do that. I'm very optimistic this time. And that's some time. I just know it's going to go. But again, I'd like it, rather than target guideline, K through 2 being 22 to 22, I'd like us to make it 20, and I make a motion to do so, K through 2. Is our target
Well,
guideline?
we've already got a motion to approve this, so we'd have to amend
Okay, I'd like to.
Is that how we do that?
Include
and
K
change
through
it
2
to 20.
target guideline of 20 to 1.
The board approves the class-side guidelines as presented with the change of kindergarten to
K through 2 to 20.
20 students.
We're doing K through 2?
Yeah, K through 2.
Who made the
Guideline
motion?
is what it is, a guideline,
Bill
it's
made
not
the
a
motion.
mandate.
You made the first initial motion?
I made the first initial motion. But Bill made the motion on the amended.
So you need a section. Vote on it.
You have to act on the first motion before you can amend it.
Or accept a friendly amendment as the person who made it.
Yeah, I'd accept do a friendly amendment to that if that's what you want to do.
If you made the motion and you accept the friendly amendment, I made the second, I would accept that friendly amendment.
Can you guys see the motion?
Yep.
Yep.
Is that worded okay?
Yep.
So why don't I do that?
I put down that Bill made the motion, or do we have to vote
It's a
on the
friendly
first
amendment,
motion?
I don't know, that. Do you?
Don't we have to vote on the first motion and then?
If there,
It's a friendly amendment, I don't know if you have to vote on it.
Okay.
You can just vote on the original amendment, or the original motion, it's changed to that.
Okay. So if I just call for the vote, is that?
Did we have a second?
Yeah, I did.
Oh,
In the front.
You calling for the vote?
Okay, now you can. Vote for the new guidelines. They are approved. Next item, approval of the pay equity report. I'll make a motion.
I'll second.
Any questions on this report? I assume it's an annual report.
It's every 3-year.
Three-year report.
Yes, and it's with all state agencies or state-related agencies that go through this process as far as pay equity.
Who reads it?
Doer does.
Doer, Department of Employee Relations, which is under the Office of Minnesota Management and Budget. They look at that, and so this is just to make it official that you're approving the submission of the report, which will get submitted tomorrow to Doer, and eventually, probably by May or June, we'll get whether we're in compliance or not in regards to the balancing of salaries between male and female.
Thank you. I'll call for the vote. Approved. Approval of referendum communication plan with the right vantage. Motion.
So moved.
I'll second.
You tell us about that more, Scott. Something that you find will enhance what we want to do.
Well, I just think that we've tried and done a pretty good job of getting the message out in the last 2 referendums, and I think that we need some assistance making sure that we're tailoring our message and communicating accurately and just some new ideas. And that's what this person will provide us, this firm, excuse me.
Have you spoken with them?
multiple times.
Any other comments or questions?
I've seen Dawn's work before. She does a great job.
Call for the vote. That is approved. Anything else tonight?
I'd like to say thank you to Scott for his leadership with that. It's critical that we have those extra eyes to help us this time.
I would agree. I will adjourn the meeting. Thanks, everyone.